So Gary Baxter here in the Bikesports Championship, but you've got quite an interesting racing background, you were telling me.
Yeah, we started racing back when I was like 17 on the motorcycles really, on the 125 Grand Prix, and then moved after a few years to 250s, and then we ended up going through the 600 categories really, in British Supersport and everything. And
so then you obviously switched to cars at one point. What was the reason for that?
Mainly because it gets to the point of financial in the end, but then also it's sort of like you get to the point where you just start thinking your life change, you know, everything, commitments change a bit, and you just think, well, you know, life takes a different path, and we looked down the route really of the cars, of the bike sports really, with the radicals and that, because it still had the bike engines in, and you know, the pace of what they run out with all the downforce appealed really more than anything, because you're still running at good lap times, so like you used on the bike. So it's sort of like drove you that direction really, knowing it's got the bike back, you know, the bike side of it really with it.
Well, Adrian, you're back out in the Bikesports Championship again this season, but it's the Radical that you're in this year.
Yes, I spent 4 years racing my own car, but it was getting 4 years old, and everything I had to replace, I had to build and manufacture myself, and it was just getting too much of a time spent on it. So I went the easy option and bought a Radical, and it seems to be going very well.
Absolutely. I mean, the Radical obviously is the car of choice in bike sports. That's testament to the efforts that particular company has put into developing these cars, isn't it?
Yes, and you know, I actually blew an engine up last night, and within 3 hours I had a new oil cooler delivered, because mine was possibly full of muck, that's the sort of service that enables you to race, and it enables me to be here today to enjoy it, rather than packing up and going home last night and thinking about 6 weeks worth of work to do bits and pieces.
Absolutely. And I guess, you know, there must still be an attraction for you to come out and race, to still be coming out to do the bike sports in the Radical this year.
It's probably an addiction rather than an attraction. I last raced really in 1979, yes, and then suppressed my career while I built the racing car company. So I guess there was some germ still there, and as I have a bit more time these days, I'm enjoying coming back to the club scene, and looking back on my own career. The club racing scene in Formula Ford and Formula Ford 2000 was probably some of the most rewarding and fun times I had. It all got a bit serious after that.
The cars on the grid for the first of the races for the Spire Sportscars Bikesports Championship. It's Tim Gray in the Spire that lines up on pole position. Will Brown in the Radical PR6 is next to him. On the second row, it's Richard Wise in the Spire and Elliot Goodman in another Radical. As the race gets underway and the field heads down towards Rich's corner for the first time, and a fantastic noise these motorcycle engines make as they roar away from the line and up towards Rich's, the first corner of this 3-mile lap then. Not the biggest grid of the bike sports cars that we have this weekend, but you can see that it is Tim Gray that leads the way at Montreal Hairpin. I think it is Will Brown there in second position as the field makes its way through, with bringing up the rear the number 68 car, which is Martin Phillipson, the consultant electrical engineer from Cirencester. But Tim Gray, well, no surprise that he is leading the way really. There you can see in third place the blue and orange, almost golf liveried car of Adrian Reynard as he makes his way down towards the right-hander then. These cars very fast in qualifying, well underneath the 2-minute barrier for Tim Gray, 1 minute 51.91 in practice this morning, so we'll expect to see very similar lap times during the race. It's the first time that the bike sports cars have raced on this 300 circuit. Last year they raced on the 200 layout. Brown you can see in second place then. Third is Adrian Reynard. You can see a bit of a scrap developing for 5th and 6th positions. That's Richard Wise, who has dropped back a little bit off the start, trying to find a way through there. Possibly that's ahead of the Bob Scanlon car that has made quite a decent start to the race. Reynard then in the blue and orange car, the Radical SR3, turning his way out of Murray's and up towards the start and finish line to complete the opening lap of this race, which is being led by Tim Gray in the Spire. Oh, and a moment there, that's for number 35 going off the circuit. And that's Mike Simpson, who started right towards the back of the grid. He rejoins the track now, though, having lost a little bit of time. And here's a bit of a scrap going on at the rear of the group. You can see the number 77 car, which is Gary Baxter now. He started 5th on the grid, so he's lost quite a bit of ground at the beginning of this race. He'll be keen to try and make some of that up. The man from Bourne in Lincolnshire. Down at Agassini is that scrap, which is headed at the moment by Tim Porter, I think that is, in the 53 car. Doug Carter is involved in that battle as well. Making their way through the left-hander at Hamilton and down towards Oggies. There's Reynard then. He's in 3rd position. As the cars make their way along the straight, it looks like Goodman there in 4th. And he tries to find a way through ahead of Reynard, and he does so, but runs wide coming out of Nelson. But can Goodman in the number 28 car make that stick? Yes, he can. So Goodman goes up to 3rd place now. Down to 4th goes Adrian Reynard, who has made such a big contribution to race car design down the years. And Gary Baxter doing battle with Doug Carter here. Through Murray's they go, using a little bit of the curb as they apex the corner. The majority of this field, of course, comprises radicals, with just the 2 Spires, the GT3s of Tim Gray that runs in Class B, and Richard Wise in Class C, interrupting the monotony, possibly not the right word, because we love to see the radicals out here. The PR6s and the SR3s, and also the SR4 model represented in the hands of Oliver Cox. We'll have a look out for Oliver, can see if we can spot him a little bit later on during the course of this race. Peterborough built cars, and what, that's not been around for much more than about 15 years, but very successful it's been. It's revolutionised sports car racing in many ways, and now many different types of radicals, from the SR1 for the newcomers to race up to the mighty SR8s, and a few more besides, as we watch Richard Wise in the Spire, which runs in Class C for the smaller capacity cars. That's the class that Tim Gray ran in last season. He's now running in Class B with a larger and more powerful engine, and it served him well because he's running away at the front of the fields as we watch Adrian Reynard there, trying to hold on to 4th position. Non-starter, by the way, in this race after engine problems in qualifying has been James Brakel, which has been a shame because he was on the podium for 3 of the first 4 races in the championship at Donington Park and Silverstone. Just around 5 of 12 in this particular championship, as we watch Doug Carter go through, number 50, the 57-year-old civil engineer from Kendal in Cumbria. He's been racing in Bikesports and the Radical Clubman's Cup for 3 years. Raced for raced in RGB before that, as we watch Reynard run wide. Kicks up a bit of dust, and that gives heart to the drivers that are following him. So Tim Porter there is in number 53. Just behind him is Gary Baxter. Just behind both of them is Richard Wise. Tim Porter, 53, who had a class victory in the previous meeting at Silverstone. Stephen Burgess won Class A in both of the first 2 races at Donington Park, but Porter and Reynard split them at Silverstone last time out. Class B, though, generally seems to be the one where the pace is set, despite it not being the top class in theory. Driving standards flag going out to somebody there, and it's for car number 29, which is Adrian Reynard. Well, the experienced campaigner who was successful racing in his own right in the late 1970s. I think might have been taking 1 or 2 liberties with the track limits here at Snetterton, and cutting those white lines. Oh, and that's bad fortune for Gary Baxter, number 77. He didn't have a very good start to this race, but it was getting better, and now he's spun up at Montreal. As going through there is the number 38 car of Gary Patton. He gets ahead of Bob Scanlon now, and that puts him up into the top 10 for the first time in this race, as Tim Gray makes his way out of Murray's for the final time. We've not seen a lot of him, but truth be told, he's just run away and hid in this race. Checkered flag goes out. It's a third win in the row for Tim Gray, as someone is struggling to get back onto track there. I think that's Kelvin Kingsley in the SR3. Yes, it is. So he loses a place towards the end of the race to Bob Scanlon, therefore. Kingsley with that spin, the novice cross you can see on the back of his car. There goes our second place man, which is Will Brown, but it's all waves and no doubt smiles under the helmet for Tim Gray, the former RGB, low cost and bike sports champion. And here's the confirmation. His winning margin in the end, 27.92 seconds. Another 16 seconds back in third place was Elliot Goodman. But Richard Wise won his class in fourth place overall. Despite that late spin, Gary Baxter still finished 7th, ahead of Adrian Reynard in the end, with Oliver Cox flying the flag for the SR4 in 9th. Well, Tim, you've won again in bike sports, that time by almost half a minute. You must be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah, really happy. It's a shame really that JP wasn't here to give me a race, because I think we'd have had a great race. But no, I mean, the car was fantastic. I had to just get in a rhythm and just keep doing that, because I didn't want to. I knew I had a good gap, but as soon as you start slowing down, you start making silly mistakes and that kind of thing. So I just thought, I'm sticking to a lap time. I'm just going to keep doing that. You know, lap, perfect. So yeah, really happy.
You weren't quite as fast in the race as you were in qualifying. Was that a deliberate policy? Was that down to the changing conditions?
You know, I kind of thought once I got off the line and I got in front and I saw I had a decent gap at the end of the first lap, I knew what lap time I was going to pick to do as an average. I just thought, just keep sticking to do that every lap. I won't make a mistake, and I just, you know, stick at my pace, and that's what I did.
Well, Brown, second position. Are you pleased with that?
Absolutely. It's been a sort of a long weekend for me already. We had a good test day here last week, good qualifying, and started in second and finished in second. Happy with that, yeah.
Yeah, are you pleased sort of with that overall position in the order? Because it seems to be a step up for you.
Absolutely, yeah. It's sort of my best result so far of the year. And I mean, Tim was just gone, so to finish second, very happy, yeah.
Right, Elliot, third place. Tell us about your race.
Well, starting fourth, obviously got a good start for grid up to third, and then outbraked myself a little bit into the hairpin, can't remember what it's called, but Reynard got past, so I was stuck behind him for a lap or two, but eventually got back past and just managed to drive to the flag.
And are you enjoying your racing so far this season?
Yeah, it's been good, yeah. First year in SR3, so, but it's been good fun.
Excellent. What do you make of the 300 circuit?
Yeah, it's a good track. I don't like, can't remember what the last complex is, but it's difficult as, but yeah, it's a good track overall.